Hello, my name is Ross. Today we're going to draw a tree for your character, Maeve or Wolf or Robin or whoever to stand in. So first of all, we're going to have a look at the size of our character, whatever size you've drawn them. And we're going to just make a little space for them to stand. So just draw a little kind of oval shape and maybe draw some grass and debris, a couple of leaves or whatever around. And that's kind of like your stage where your character is going to stand, right? So now you know the height of your character and where they're going to be, and you can make, say, a tree or something to frame the character. So draw a big swoopy shape around like that, and that'll help frame your character like that. So once you have that, then you can start filling in details. You can draw the other side of the tree, a big curve. You can draw some roots in, some big kind of circular roots. And you can draw maybe a branch up at the top that goes in a curve like this. And then you can start filling in a kind of a rough shape for all the leaves of the tree, right? So draw just some squiggles like that. It doesn't have to be very precise or anything. Probably the rougher you draw it, the better, because the style of the Wolfwalkers forest is very rough. So then that's your basic kind of composition there. And then, yeah, put your character in to check again. So that looks good. So the important thing to remember then is the size of, say, leaves and things like that, that if your character, Maeve, was going to pick up a leaf, it has to be like the right size. It can't be really, really tiny, or it can't be way, way too big. So draw a leaf, say, that you think that your character could pick up and hold, and it would be believable. And then that'll give you a sense of scale, what to base all the other leaves off. So once you have that leaf, then you can just start drawing in lots of other leaves that look roughly the same, and then you know that the size is going to be right. So you can just draw them really, really roughly. Try and get them all going in one direction, because then it'll be a nice kind of flow to the background. That's one of the things that we did in Wolfwalkers. We concentrated on flowy lines going through all of the shapes. So we're just going to draw lots and lots of scribbly leaves in at the top, all facing the same direction, all kind of going in the same flow line. They kind of look like love hearts, but really they're kind of based on an oak leaf, which is kind of like a shape like that. It's kind of squiggly, and sometimes it has a line through the middle, so you can draw that in too if you want. So we're going to do lots and lots of leaves all around. And then in some places, maybe where it's in shadow, you can just do lots and lots and lots of scribbles until it's kind of darker than the rest. You don't really need to draw leaves at this stage, just scribbles is enough. Okay, so we'll darken this bit over here too. That gives you a canopy then for your tree. Then you can concentrate on the bark next. And one of the things that we had in Wolfwalkers trees is sometimes they have mushrooms, bracket mushrooms growing up the trunk of the tree. So we'll just draw them in, they're kind of like saucers or like dinner plates or something on the side of the tree like that. It just gives a little bit of a variety to the, what do you call it, the flora of the environment. So just draw a couple of those in there like that. Now we're going to give the trunk of the tree a flow, and I don't know if you ever go into the forest and sometimes you see a tree and it grows around in a kind of a curve. You can see the bark twisting. So we're going to do some bark lines that'll show a twist in the trunk of the tree. And then once you have those rough lines in, then you can start adding in some detail. And the bark, we're going to make this kind of an old tree, so it would have lots of gaps in the bark, and we just draw them in with big black kind of lines like that. Kind of dashed lines, because sometimes the bark of the tree is very kind of chunky and bitty. So we put in some dark lines around, and some bigger maybe black lines that help describe that flow. And again, you can make one area much darker and leave one area a little bit lighter, and it kind of helps show that there's a light hitting the tree. and some part is in shadow and some part isn't. So we'll make the bits underneath the leaves dark because they would cast a shadow on the trunk of the tree. And then we'll make the outline a little bit darker too. This is the time that maybe if you wanted to, you could put in a little bird up in the tree as well. And then again, just check the size against your character to see that it's not going to be a bird that looks way, way too big or a bird that's too small. So just put in a couple of little legs that are holding on to the branch of the tree and maybe give it a little belly that you could color in later. And there you have a little bird in your tree too. So one of the things about the trees in Ireland and a lot of places is that they have ivy growing up around the trunks of the trees. Ivy is everywhere in the forest here, and you could start by maybe just doing one shape that could be your ivy, what do you call it, kind of it's like a branch of ivy, I suppose. And then off that you can do little ivy leaves, and ivy leaves usually have like 3 points to them, so it's kind of like half a star, and you can do lots of little ivy leaves coming off the main trunk of ivy. And again, you can group them together so that on some parts there would be less leaves and some parts there would be a clump of leaves, and that makes it look a little bit more believable. So put in a clump of leaves here and maybe just a couple of leaves elsewhere. And that's your little bit of ivy growing up. And then the roots of this tree are going to be all kind of like little semicircles. And you can make some bigger and some smaller. And then you can shade again underneath to make it look like that there's little holes maybe for little mice or voles or shrews or anything to live in. And then continue the roots end behind Maeve. And here you can put in like some little like bits of grass or flowers. Something nice that you see in your garden or out on forest walks. Some flowers that are quite big and then other ones that are just little tiny ones. You can just do little circles for them almost. And then put in some vegetation around the base of the tree like that. And then on the ground, because it's autumn, do some leaves that have fallen off the ivy and fallen off the tree. Again, you can make them different shapes and different sizes and clump some of them together and then put others far apart. Put some on the other side of Maeve. And some grass and little tiny flowers. You could even put in a little mouse with a curly tail. And some ears. And a bit of hair. Again, check your character on top. You could put in a couple of little spiders or bugs on the branch or on the trunk of the tree. You could even put a little spider on a web hanging down from the trunk of the tree. All kinds of things that you see in your garden or in the forest to make it seem a little bit more interesting and varied and alive. There you have your background. So then that leaves it open to color, and you can use all kinds of colors. You can color the autumn leaves at the top orange. You can color the trunk of the tree brown with maybe some moss, so little bits of green, and then you can color in all the flowers different colors, and then hopefully when you put your character in on top and you color your character, you'll have like a nice environment for your character to sit in. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks very much.